And now it's time for Windy City Sports Talk. And your host, Ryan Young. Hello, Chicago! Welcome to this live Halloween edition of Windy City Sports Talk. I am Ryan Young, and of course, this is Beatty Mondays, which, as you know, are sponsored by AU Sports Memorabilia in Morton Grove, Chicagoland's #1 source for sports collectibles. And of course, joining me on the phone, and I had to just deal with him last night, the two-time Emmy Award winner, Mr. Television. He's on a piece of the game, which is the reason he has 2 Emmys and nominated for 2 more. Scott Beatty. Scott, how we doing?
Well, you sound kind of disappointed to have me 2 days in a row.
Well, kind of. We did.
Why don't you say, what, I told you at the wrestling, do the people know what we do? You've told them before, right?
Yes, we are a commentary team for SSW.
Tell the listeners that you're gaining by having me on the show.
Yes, I appreciate both of them. Okay, let's start this off by...
We're going to talk about the World Series, we're going to talk about the Bears, we're going to talk about something else, what?
Yeah, we got World Series, we got Bulls, Blackhawks, preview Bears, and preview Bulls. So, but I mean, a lot of our time's going to go towards the World Series, which didn't exactly go as planned over the weekend. Game 3, first game at Wrigley Field. A World Series game at Wrigley Field since 1945. Indians win that one of a final of 1-0. They take a 2-1 lead. Game 4, it was the Corey Kluber Fest again. And the Indians win that one 7-2, take a 3-1 lead. Cubs back up against the wall last night. The bats didn't exactly show up, but they did enough. And the Cubs win it of a final of 3-1. Therefore, this series goes back to Cleveland. And that game will be tomorrow night on Fox. Scott, I asked you last week that what the series was going to be. You said 3-2 Cubs. It's 3-2 Indians. Do you still feel like there is some hope for the Cubs?
As long as the Indians haven't won their 4th game, of course there's hope. I mean, they were down 3-1 to the Dodgers. 2-1 to the Dodgers and came back. So 3-1, a little tougher road, but I kind of gotta like the pitching matchups. I gotta believe in my team, Ryan.
I know, yeah, me too. And of course, you got the.
What do you mean, you too? You are the biggest superstitious Cubs fan I've ever met.
I wouldn't say. I think we watched the game together last night.
Nervous. I'm telling you, last night, folks, this is no joke. Ryan and I watched the game together, and Ryan had a bucket off to the side of his chair for his sweat.
No, actually, last night I was pretty good, but yeah, I'm usually nervous. But as soon as the Indians took a 1-0 lead and how the series is gone, I'm sure a lot of Cub fans said, well, it's been a great year. But then Brian hit that home run. It seemed to wake everybody up, and they were able to get a couple more in. Probably should have got more in, but, I mean, you can't be picky. And by the way, the final of last night's game was 3-2, not 3-1. My bad. But Aroldis Chapman getting 8 outs. Do you think that's going to hurt him for the rest of the series, or do you think he should be good to go possibly for tomorrow night?
I think he'll be ready to go tomorrow night, but I'm hoping they don't have to use him tomorrow night. I'd like to see about an 8-1 game tomorrow.
That would be nice. And also, you got Carl Edwards Jr., who I think is probably, and I was listening to the score this morning, and actually this afternoon, they think Carl Edwards they're probably going to groom him to be the next closer. Do you think that'd be a good fit for him?
At times he looks like he can get everybody out. And other times he struggles. He's a young guy. I wouldn't call him a classic closer, but, I also think, this is for another time, I think the closer position is somewhat overrated in baseball. If you look at a lot of the guys who've taken over the mantle of closers for teams around the league. I mean, didn't some guy named John Mark Gomez, didn't he have like 37 saves for the Phillies this year? Do you know who this guy is?
No, I haven't heard. Yeah, but really? He had that many?
What's that?
He had that many saves for the Phillies?
It was some absurd number. He's a 28-year-old guy. He used to be with the Indians, where his ERA was about 5 every year. And, he saved 37 games for the Phillies this year, albeit with an ERA of 4.85.
Well, yeah, that's not going to...
I mean, guys like Craig Kimbrell and Aroldis Chapman and Dylan Betances and guys like that, they're the jewels. Not every team can have one of those. So you have to fill in with what you have. You have to find somebody to get outs. And I think Carl Edwards is just as suited to do it as anybody else.
Now you shift from the off to the offensive side of things. Soler not in the lineup. Hayward's back in there. Neither one of them are doing...
Hey. Hayward had a hit.
Yes, he got a hit. Yes, and it's just... Do you think
that's a rare sighting? That's like, you know what? That's like you've got the Loch Ness Monster and Jason Hayward hits.
And I mean, Javi Baez is still swinging at rough pitches. But I think defensive purposes, Hayward's the right guy in the outfield, right? Instead of Jorge Soler.
I think going forward that Hayward and Baez remaining in the lineup is the correct move, because you do defensively, you want to cut off anything like that. One run can make all the difference when your back is against the wall like this. Mm-hmm. So they're just going to have to depend on the meat of that order: Fowler and Bryant, Rizzo, Zobrist, to take care of things.
Do you think in Game 3, Jorge Soler, in two different instances, kind of cost the Cubs that game? I think there was a chance for him to run up to that ball and possibly dive for it. I know it's a risk, but I mean, in that situation, you have to. And in the triple that he hit, he pretty much walked to first base before he started getting, and that would have been an inside the park home run. So do you think?
I don't think it would have been.
You don't think so?
I think he probably would have gotten thrown out of the plate.
Yeah.
I mean, if he comes bursting out of the box, you got 90 feet from third to home. If he comes flat out of the box, what does that add to him? Another 45 feet, 50 feet?
Yeah.
I think that's just the eternal Cub fan saying, God darn it, if he could have just ran out of the box, he would have had it to the park home run. But still, what would that have done? It would have tied the game, correct?
Yes.
Still could have lost.
But at least there still would have been. You never know what would have happened after that. That could have.
Listen, that game. I mean, when you're talking about the guy who was pitching, Josh Tomlin,
who they took out
36 home runs during the regular season.
Yeah.
And they could not launch one ball off him. They didn't even get a double, basically.
I am shocked that was a 1-0 game with the wind blowing out at 30 miles per hour, and not one home run. Crazy.
Baseball's crazy, Ryan.
I know it is. And then, even in Game 4, the Cubs finally got balls in the air that would have flew out the night before off of Kluber, and they couldn't do anything. And then, of course, the Chicago kid.
You know what? I'll say what all the baseball talking heads are probably saying on the MLB Network and Fox and so on, which is at least they're getting good swings at it now. At least they're driving the ball. You'd like that to carry over into Cleveland.
Yes, and then you look at if there is a Game 7, they face Corey Kluber. Maybe the third time's the charm of being able to finally get to this guy.
Well, it's like this: either the third time's the charm, or Corey Kluber deserves every single award and accolade he's going to get this year.
Yeah, because I mean, he's just been, and the places he spots those pitches.
Listen, I'm of the mind that, and there's a lot of people who take enjoyment in poking fun at the Cubs.
Oh yeah.
And as a lifelong Cub fan, I'm telling them right now, I'm going on the record, this Cub team has made me very happy. Mm-hmm. They went to the World Series. I hope they win it. They still have a chance to win it, but even if they don't, they've won 200 games over the last 2 years. They've gone to 2 straight NLCSs, winning one and going to the World Series. They're going to be in contention, hopefully injury-free for the next 5 or 6 years. They should contend. While everybody else is poking fun at them, where is your team currently residing? That's all I have to say. You root for your team, I'll root for mine.
Exactly, and I mean, we talked about this last night, is Sox fans are just, if the Sox worried as much about their team as they do about the Cubs, maybe they'd actually have a half-decent crowd once in a while during the summer.
Well, if you want to ever talk about the White Sox during the season, I'll give you my opinion on them just as a major league organization. I feel sorry for Sox fans. I have Sox fan friends, and right now they're terribly disappointed in what's going on, especially with the Cubs in the World Series. And that has to add on to somewhat of the bitterness that their team is languishing in mediocrity while the Cubs are doing well. And I don't see a way out of this for the White Sox over the very near future.
No, I mean, the only sliver of hope they would have and to show any potential is to trade Chris Sale and possibly Jose Quintana. But do you honestly think the winter meetings are the first week of December? Do you think either one of them are dealt by that or during that time?
I don't know. We're going to have to. The White Sox really seem to be, over the last several years, a team that likes to put a Band-Aid on the cut, thinking that that'll stop the bleeding for the time being. But it doesn't get better. I think we have to wait and see. If they trade one of those guys, they better get a bag of gold in return for him. Literally, Chris Sale would be the hottest free agent player, as it were.
Yes, he would.
In baseball, if the White Sox were to make him available, you realize over the next 2 years he's only owed something along the lines of $24 million.
Yeah,
That's over 2 years. And you're talking about one of the 3 or 4 best pitchers in the majors. For that kind of money, teams will give up a boatload. And if the White Sox want to be serious and they want to retool, they do have to trade him.
Okay, so that is one final question on baseball, then we'll shift to the other stuff. They keep bringing up Joe Buck and John Smoltz, the trade that could have happened. The Cubs could have gotten Andrew Miller, but the Yankees wanted Kyle Schwarber. That would have also given Andrew Miller with a contract, so he would have been here next year. Would that have been better off for the Cubs, or do you think they made the right move with getting Chapman?
I think they made the right move. Getting both of them, they would have had to give up Torre and Schwarber, and they love Schwarber. And it's not just that the organization loves Schwarber. Boy, Cub fans, they would have rioted, I think.
Yeah.
This guy is their folk hero. I like the kid a lot. I wish he could play a little bit of defense, but hopefully he'll work on that. But, I mean, at his age, 23 years old, he's got a chance to really mash in the major leagues. I mean, if you give him 145, 150 games in the starting lineup, I don't see any reason this guy's not going to hit 40-plus home runs.
Yeah, it's gonna. Do you think he's going to eventually end up a DH somewhere, or do you think the Cubs are going to be able to find a spot for him?
I think the Cubs are going to find a spot for him right now. I don't know how they're going to proceed going forward as far as giving him any catching time. But, that was always, a lot of people forget that already, that he actually came up as a catcher.
Mm-hmm.
And, he is not the best left fielder I've ever seen.
Yeah.
but he's not the worst. He tries hard.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can hide a guy out there somewhat, but I mean, I'd like to see Schwarber maybe play, 2 or 3, times a week going forward next year. Kind of like the Cubs are using Baez this year.
Yeah.
Or used him during the regular season, I should say. Game at second, a game at third, a game at short. Maybe you could get Schwarber in with a couple of games in left, a game in right, and just let him work it out because, again, he's 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cubs have almost too many players they could put on the field.
Yeah,
and that's not a bad thing. Showing that injury when Schwarber went out, Cubs were able to plug other guys in and go forward.
Yeah, and then you look towards next season, and like we talked about this last night also, is that probably...
I'm not looking forward to next season. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to Cubs win tomorrow.
I know. I'm talking about roster-wise. Javi Baez has proven, at least not in the World Series, but through in this playoffs, that he deserves to probably be the second baseman next year, which probably puts Zobrist in left, and then you said Almora in center, and then have Schwarber, or they flip-flop, have Schwarber out there also. Or Hayward's got to be out there also. Hayward's got to be in right then, probably still.
Well, I think Baez, unless they make a trade, unless they trade Soler or Schwarber or anyone of the sort.
You think they trade Baez or no? His stock is really high right now.
I wouldn't trade Baez. I'm not an idiot.
I guess not.
I mean, it's one thing if the Angels came calling and offered, Mike Trout, and I don't even know if they even have a second good player. I don't think so. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you wouldn't. Yeah, he's not worth trading unless you get something big in return.
Well, again, he's a guy who's learning the game, and he's as good as he is right now at his age. And all the things they've been saying all year long about his glove work is absolutely as advertised. What a terrific defensive player he is. David Ross has been in the league for a dozen years, said he's the best defensive infielder he's ever played with. So I think that's saying a lot.
It is, and we saw one of those tags last night. He's amazing at second base with them quick tags, but also everything else he's been able to do. Because I don't think,
I think second base is his natural position.
Yeah,
he can't play short. He came up as a shortstop, but he can certainly play short. He could play third base. I'm sure you could stick him in the outfield and he'd be okay. He's got great baseball instincts.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be where he needs to be.
Yes.
If you remember, I don't know if a lot of people remember back in spring training, and in the winter leagues, the Cubs had him playing a little center field just in case.
Yeah, and so I think he'd be great anywhere. So hopefully, I think he'll probably be.
But I agree with you. I think second base is his position. I think you can get the most payback by having him there defensively. And if that means Oberst moves out to left field, maybe plays second base twice a week, while Baez-Mozoder plays a game at short for Russell, a game at third for Bryant, and they can switch around a little. I think that's probably their best bet.
And of course, the odd man out is Dexter Fowler, who looks like he probably wouldn't come back anyway. He signed a one-year deal.
Likely to opt out, yeah.
And apparently, one team that really he would fit well with is the rival Cardinals. But I mean, I guess so. Why not? I mean, he's a good player, but I don't.
Dexter Fowler's got a family to eat too.
Oh yeah. So yeah.
And I mean, if and you grow accustomed to a certain type of breakfast when you make $50 million a year,
Yes. Okay, so that's baseball. Again, the Cubs down 3-2. We'll talk about that to close out the show. Quickly, Bulls weekend. They played on Saturday. They defeated the Pacers 118-101. The Bulls are 2-0, and you got the fans. A lot of fans thinking, okay, maybe this is the team, and this is what they've been able to concoct with getting.
Here's why you pay me the big money.
Okay, go ahead. Smash my dreams.
On my own, I conducted a poll.
Yes.
Throughout my friends in the industry.
So what did both of them say?
And we put the over. I threw it out there, and I said, "What's the over/under on Bulls wins?" And I put it at 40.
Mm-hmm.
90% went under.
Really?
Yes. Actually, 10 people. I thought that was a nice polling part. 9 people went with the under. 1 went with the over. And he's a good friend of mine who I would describe as drinking the Bulls Kool-Aid.
You are a bad team if you can't make the NBA playoffs. I mean, especially in the Eastern Conference, they're dreadful. I mean, it's pretty much the Cavs and the rest of the field. I think the Bulls have a solid chance to at least be in the top 3 or 4. Toronto, no one else even comes to the top of my head. Maybe Indiana. So I think if they stay healthy, and that's a big key because they do got some.
So, your opinion?
Yes.
They're a okay team in a mediocre conference.
Yeah, I'll take that. I hate the front office. I can't stand them. I don't like Jerry Reinsdorf.
That's the same front office philosophy as the Chicago White Sox.
Exactly. Yeah, it's terrible. And then Gar Forman, who they went out and said, we're going to make this team younger. And then they go and get Dwayne Wade. And
he meant younger than him.
Must have been, because he goes and gets Wade and Rondo, which right now, yes, it's working fine. 2 games in. Tonight they're in Brooklyn to face the Nets. That's another bad team. They should be able to pull that one out. That game will be tonight at 6:30 on Comcast Sportsnet. So, I mean, you enjoy what you get early on, but I'm sure the injuries will catch up with this team because Dwayne Wade's, unless this is just bringing out a fire in Dwayne Wade because he's playing for his hometown. But do you think it was a good move to get rid of Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, even though Noah didn't want to stay? And Rose, I think, especially with all the rape investigation, probably good that he left Chicago, even though he did go to New York.
Well, Noah didn't want to stay. He had issues with the coaching staff and the front office, but he's a guy you don't like to see go because he was a hard worker. He kind of turned into he was kind of a malcontent his rookie year.
Yes.
And then he turned it around and became really the leader of the team.
Yeah.
You got to remember when Thibodeau coached this team, he took a team where everybody was broken down, and Noah took that team, kind of carried them on his back for a while.
Yeah.
He he really became a popular guy because in Chicago, if you work hard, people will respect you.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that respect, I'm sorry to see him go, but it's a decision he made for himself. Derrick Rose, on the other hand, you don't need that distraction. I mean, ever since the injuries, and it's unfortunate that the injuries came, he was an MVP.
Yeah,
but when he returned, he was never the same player. And the bottom line is you've got to, win games. And with Rose being, your marquee player, you weren't going to win the games you needed to win. He just wasn't that guy anymore. Mm-hmm. And then on top of it, what you said with the allegations and so on and so forth, just a distraction. A team trying to put themselves back into the discussion, and that would take away from what the other players are doing, I think.
Yep, and also one thing I agreed with Joakim Noah. I believe he said, "Why would anyone want to go or live in Cleveland?" So I always respected Joakim Noah. Except,
despite the Indians, I like Cleveland. I've been there several times. I plan on going back.
Isn't it it's kind of like a Milwaukee, isn't it? That kind of feel.
Well, let's not insult any city by calling it Milwaukee.
I mean, Cleveland's the place to be, at least in this past week. I mean, the Cavs got their rings and all that, and then also they pushed their game up tonight to 5:30, or tomorrow night to 5:30 or 5 o'clock.
They have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is one of my favorite places in the whole world.
Yes, and then and then also the Browns almost won yesterday. So I mean,
isn't that crazy? That's what you got to get excited about as a Browns fan. Did you see the game? Did you see it? What happened? We almost won.
I mean, they looked good, and they were up by 10, and they couldn't even beat the Chicago Jets with Matt Forte, Brandon Marshall.
It's okay because I will continue to give whoever plays Cleveland huge points in my confidence pool.
You in that damn confidence pool. Let's just.
Yeah, I did okay yesterday.
That's good. Did you pick the Packers or no?
My problem with the picks is my upsets come in.
Yeah.
But my huge favorites tank.
Did you pick the Packers yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Oh. Well, they lost, and it's okay.
I know.
It's quiet here. Blackhawks weekend. They win 3-2 in overtime to the Devils on Friday. And then yesterday they beat the Kings 3-0. This team struggled out of the box. Now, like we both agree, hockey's not a real big topic on this show because it's my fourth favorite sport, and I can live without it if I have to. But that's a strong sign that they're starting to turn things around after not starting off too good to begin the season.
Yeah, they're only a couple of points out of first, but like I said about hockey, it's all just about positioning yourself for the playoffs, because I believe that there's is it 86 teams that have the playoffs?
It's still, man.
I think everybody makes the playoffs, plus each individual state in the union gets to select one semi-pro team to also go on to the NHL playoffs.
They have the same amount as NBA, 8-8, each conference.
Okay. And then there's the travel time,
Yeah.
I've discussed that. It's hard for me to follow hockey during the regular season. I do follow it a little bit. It's just that it's the amount of time off between games and the fact that it really doesn't start counting until later in the season. Just really great. I mean, besides, it really, really cuts into my Downton Abbey time.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And on top of that, especially with the Cubs making a deep playoff run, that took away from, well, not like I really. This is usually when I watch hockey until basketball started, but fortunately, the Cubs took over. Okay, so that's hockey. The Hawks, I think, play tomorrow. Then, of course, you got a preview tonight. Bears, Vikings, Soldier Field, 7:30 ESPN, and it's looking like Jay Cutler's coming back. And is that a good thing, or is that a scary thing, being it's on Halloween night?
We've seen Jay Cutler play for several years here in Chicago, and you're asking if it's scary because it's Halloween. Halloween has nothing to do with it.
I know. It really doesn't.
This is a bad Bears team.
Mm-hmm.
This team, I don't see any passion. I don't see any fire. I mean, I think Alshon Jeffrey's just counting the days till he can leave. Mm-hmm. And, he's their best player. You've got an offensive line that's kind of been thrown together. They're still finding their way around. The running game. I don't. Langford should. Yeah, he might be coming back next week, or might he even play tonight? I don't know.
Isn't the trade deadline like tomorrow or Thursday or something?
Oh, maybe we can trade everybody for a case of Count Chocula.
I mean, Alshon Jeffrey. That's what reminds. I think there's a good chance that he could get traded. I'm not sure on his Is this his final year?
Yeah, then we could. You know what? Then the Bears' number one receiver would be Eddie Royal. If Eddie Royal's your number one receiver, maybe you can just shut down football functions for the year.
There's some other trades that took place. I believe the Eagles acquired Jamal Charles, who I thought he was hurt. Is he still kicking?
Yeah, he's still hurt.
So that's the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Bears didn't pick him up.
The Cowboys acquired Sheldon Richardson. Oh, the trade deadline just ended at 3 p.m. today or tomorrow. So
It just ended at 3 p.m. tomorrow. It just ended at 3 p.m. tomorrow.
I thought today was Tuesday.
How do you think it was Tuesday? It's Beatty Mondays.
Yeah, I tend to forget that.
I am terribly upset with you.
I'm still working on the theme song. We were going to have that butt up girl. By the way, if anyone has a chance to watch Ringside Report, check out our post show about about Hell in a Cell, and we didn't watch 1 second of it. But I think the drunk lady was pure entertainment.
I'm telling you, I couldn't have gotten her to take her shirt off. I swear I could have.
Yes, you could have, and I think the boyfriend or the brother or whatever he was wouldn't have minded at all. The Buccaneers acquired Torrey Smith for a 4th-round pick.
That's worth it.
Falcons acquired Cameron Wake from the Dolphins for a 3rd-round pick. Panthers acquired the Browns' Joe Hayden for a pick package. Ooh. So
And the pick and the package, is it possible? What's in the package?
Well, it could be a good package because if the Panthers acquired, if the Browns will get and the Panthers are what, 1-6, 1-7, so there's a possibility they won
yesterday. They're 2. I think they got 2 wins.
Oh, well, look at them go. Even though Cam Newton was dressed like a pilgrim yesterday. Cam Newton
was dressed like a pilgrim?
Pretty much. He had a feather in his hat, and he looked dreadful.
He's sporty.
He's a crybaby. Okay, so the Bears tonight, you have a feeling they're going to win against Minnesota, or no?
Well, what are you kidding me?
Well, I have to ask.
Wait. Okay. The Vikings, despite having one of the most anemic offenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
Also have the best defense. I should say in the NFC, anyway.
Yeah.
I won't compare them up. They have only given up, are you ready for this, over 6 games? Only given up 84 points.
Wow.
And the Bears are, I think, if you do the math, I think they would have 84 points scored by the 11th game of the season.
Yeah, I think it's going to be ugly. I think they're going to lose by a lot. And I think at this point, just keep losing. I mean, go for the draft pick. We only got less than a minute left. Quickly, you're back next Monday. We start to talk more about hot stove baseball. But when you call in next Monday, who is your World Series champions?
Chicago Cubs.
You want to bet the house on it?
Why not? Why not, man? In for a dime, in for a dollar. I gotta believe in my team. You gotta believe in your team. Anybody listens to Cub Band, you gotta believe in your team. Why not?
Okay, hopefully that's the case. Jake Arrieta tomorrow against Josh Tomlin, and then hopefully Wednesday, Corey Kluber against Kyle Hendricks.
Corey Kluber.
What?
Screw Corey Kluber.
I hope that's exactly what the Cubs do. Everyone have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy Halloween. Don't go to Scott Beatty's house because I think he has to leave his light off. That's a rule. Have a great day, Chicago.